And we're back. Yesterday, New York State held its primary election for Congress, in which District's 14 candidate Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez defeated incumbent Joseph Crowley. Now, our cameras were at Ocasio-Cortez's election party, and this is what one of her supporters had to say.
Because I believe in her message. I think what resonated with me was the Medicare for all. What resonated for me was also abolishing ICE. I think that one of the things that we're seeing now is this awful, right, establishment that is pushing families apart. And so I think that when she came strong against ICE, I think that was one of the most important issues for me.
And so also in another race, we want to tell you that the House District 16, Elliot Engel, the incumbent, won by a 74% margin, defeating both Jonathan Lewis, Joyce Briscoe, and Derrickson Lawrence in the race for the 16th. Now, here to talk a little bit more about the congressional race and Ocasio-Cortez's stunning upset. We welcome now to our studio political experts, Lee Bynes and J.C. Polanco. Good to have you both.
Good to be back.
Okay,
Hi,
so,
how are you?
I mean, it's the morning after. A lot of people are still asking questions. What happened? And I started with a little question about, are you surprised? Let me start off first with J.C.
I'm shocked. This is insane. Look, the new congresswoman, or the soon-to-be congresswoman, was almost 10 years old when Joe Crowley left the state assembly and went into Congress. I mean, this is very interesting to see someone without any elective office in New York City, someone with so much youth, get elected to Congress and actually leapfrog over so many other elected officials that have been working very hard trying to build a resume and build the leadership record so that they can one day succeed the powerful Congressman Crowley. At the end, or in the end, I think my district where he represented will lose. And the reason we will lose in the short term, at least, is that he was the fourth ranking Democrat in the House of Representatives and a potential candidate to be Speaker of the House. Think about how much we got as a district because of his seniority. Now we're going to start new.
Okay, I'm going to come back to you in a minute.
Very
Let me get Lee on this.
Well, you know what? A lot of people were surprised and shocked, et cetera, but as I mentioned to you earlier, I've been looking at the situation for the last between 8 and 9 months. I could probably see the fact that this young woman spoke to the people. This young woman spoke to that invisible group that's somewhere between the shrinking middle class and the poor, which I describe now as the struggling class, and not many people are talking to them right now. This individual, Mr. Crowley, his major failing was not actually coming out and talking to the people. He missed 2 debates. He cited scheduling issues, and I'm trying to think to myself what could be more important than actually showing up to a debate to talk to your constituents and tell them where you're coming from. This lady tapped into the needs of people who are working 2 jobs, 2 part-time jobs in order to make ends meet, but those 2 part-time jobs don't offer enough health care. Or if they are making enough money, they're making too much money to qualify for subsidies. That's why she won.
JC, you got a different theory on this, I see.
Yeah, I think look, I was once a young man. I turned 41 last week, can you believe it? So, but when I was 18, I ran for the assembly. When I was 25, I ran for the assembly. And when I was 39, I ran for city public advocate, right? Mm-hmm. So I have had that youth streak, wanted to run for office. So I'm a little bit of a hater right now, seeing her actually win an election. But to be honest, I mean, you have someone without any elective office experience now representing 720,000 people. I think that a couple of reasons are dismal turnout. You have hundreds of thousands of registered voters, about 24,000 cared to show up to vote. And then another thing is that this district has changed demographically incredibly. You went from a district that was once the Archie Bunker district, where the All in the Family episodes we used to watch, to now a very much diverse district. And lastly, there is a radical shift to the left in the Democratic Party. This candidate is a bona fide socialist. She's a self-declared member of the New York Socialist Democratic Party. She was asked in a debate, she was asked, would you endorse Joe Crowley if he wins in a primary? She said, I'm going to have to speak to my organizations. As you know, I'm being supported by the New York State Democratic Socialists. I mean, so this is someone who is very far to the left. I think that if the Democratic Party continues to move that far to the left, you may blow your chances of winning in November the House of Representatives and the Senate.
See, I doubt that seriously, simply because of the fact that this young woman and I have no hate whatsoever for the millennials and the people coming back, because these people are voting for their future. I'll be 62 in July right now.
Great.
We've had our opportunities. The mainstream Democrats have not done what they were supposed to do to take care of the the constituents that are depending on them. This woman has tapped into something. I see this situation being replicated in other areas of the country. And being a socialist is not necessarily a dirty word.
It's a terrible thing. But Lee, I got to tell you something interesting. You see how these guys complain about the mainstream Democrats haven't done enough? I sit here and think about what else do you want from these mainstream Democrats? They delivered on President Obama. They've given you free college education. They've given you marriage equality. They've given you so many free things, free internet, free phone. I mean, how much more do you want from the Democratic Party? What you really want is a new party, a socialist party, where you get free health care, free, not only free education, but free child care. Everybody makes a guaranteed minimum wage. Look, Congresswoman, soon to be, Cortez Ocasio talked about a federal jobs guarantee. Look, there's something called progressive deception. And I think that right now, this is what's happening. You're promising so many things that you know you can't deliver on. Sort of like how President Trump talked about a border wall being created and that Mexico's going to pay for it. We knew he was lying then, and we knew that all this federal jobs guarantee stuff is never going to happen. There's a radical shift to the left, and it's going to cost you the House and the Senate.
I don't think. I think if you continue to say that none of these will ever happen, then young people will be so disappointed and so dejected and so disenfranchised that they won't show up to vote. The fact is that they are young. They still have that spirit that, yes, we can do this, is that a lot of people are coming out of the shadows and say that, look, if we get ourselves together, we can do this on our own. The young people, this woman tapped into the grassroots of the party, and she spoke to the people, not the donors.
Let me ask a question going forward. Where do you go from here? Because as JC said, fourth-ranking Democrat in the House. He definitely has a lot of support amongst Democrats. When you talk about influence and bringing influence home and fighting for New Yorkers, that influence gets lost because now you have a freshman. If she wins in November, you got a freshman congresswoman. She starts at the bottom of the totem pole. How do you balance this out, and what good comes of this for New Yorkers possible?
She brings fresh new ideas. She brings fresh new ideas. She gives the Democratic establishment a reason to think a second time before they just go out there and just expect minorities, women, the gay and lesbian community just to show up simply because of the fact that they have nobody else to address their needs.
JC on that.
It just is no difference ideologically when you think about the true principles of the Democratic Party and Congressman Crowley. Look, the only reason this man lost was because of changing demographics. That's really what it came down to. This person, I've never met her before. I'm sure she's a phenomenal human being. And her claim to fame is that she's an activist. We have many activists. That doesn't mean you get to go to Congress.
And also, let's say, which we did not say, an organizer for Bernie Sanders' presidential
Yeah, but
campaign.
still, all of that, to sit now in Congress, I mean, that's great. Congratulations. But the reality is, I'm a constituent. Now I'm concerned. We just lost the number 4th ranking Democrat and someone who was rumored to be the next speaker if the Democrats were to take over the House of Representatives. It's a big hit as far as my district is concerned. Now, what is it that she promised that was so different? I tell you what she promised. She said that ICE was a terrorist organization and she wants to work to abolish ICE. I mean, it's almost as insane as when Ted Cruz talked about abolishing the IRS. Who's going to collect the taxes? Who's going to stop illegal immigration? These are naive policies that I think are pushing the party, so far to the left. The guys in the middle, like me, are going to say clearly, you're not giving us some real alternatives.
I would not say that you are in the middle. I would say that you are definitely to the right of the situation.
I'm in the middle. Totally. Trust me. The right has abandoned
Nobody
me.
trusts
the left doesn't like me. I'm in the middle.
Nobody trusts attorneys. Nobody trusts politicians. let's just keep this real, okay? The fact of the matter is that, because I'm neither.
You're a journalist.
And my job is to tell the truth.
Okay.
But basically speaking, this woman is going to, as I said before, this all comes down to dollars and cents. This woman raised her money from the grassroots. She raised her money from the people that she's talking to.
But I'll ask the question is this. She raised money. But yet and still, when you look at the money that Congressman Crowley raised, he outspent her. And yet and still, even outspending her, she still comes away with victory.
Because she's talking to the people.
If she were, you wouldn't have 24,000 people showing up to vote.
He's talking to the donors.
She won the election with 12,000. She's going to represent over 700,000 people. There's no way she's talking to the people when the people stayed home. This was a low turnout election. And you know what's interesting about this? These elected officials like to have the 2 primaries, one in July and one in September. It's supposed to be like an incumbent protection system. And this time it backfired. Having a primary in July created a storm where there was low voter turnout and it gave room for her to pull it off. Now, I wish her the best. If you see me in the street, Congresswoman, soon to be, I'm not a bad guy and I think you're going to be okay. But I'm just talking here, analyzing your race and really looking at the numbers. And I haven't met you before. And I know a lot of guys that have been waiting forever for this opportunity. So it's interesting to see how you pulled this off. Congratulations and good luck.
Yeah, so let me ask this question about the June primary, because a lot of people say the June primary should not happen. We should be closer to September. There are a lot of people who woke up this morning and said primary. I thought it was in September.
Yeah.
Talk about it. I mean, a lot of New Yorkers in particular are still waking up with the morning like, what did I miss?
Yeah. Well, it was an incumbent protection system. You had senators in Albany who said, I want to get 2 bites at the apple. No, honestly, they said, if I run for Congress and lose, I can still run for my Senate seat. So the votes that you need to change the primary date weren't there because you had guys like Senator Espaillat that wanted a bite at the apple, Senator Lee Zeldin out of Long Island that was a senator that wanted to run for Congress and just in case wanted to be able to run for the Senate in September. So you have political considerations, but at the end of the day, we're spending millions of dollars on 2 primaries, knowing full well that we don't need them and that it's creating a low voter turnout. So there needs to be a change. What do you think?
The more opportunities that people have to show up at the polls and be able to express themselves and be able to tell the people that they expect to lead them, the better. I cannot see that the outcome would have been any different had this situation have been postponed or had been whittled down to just one opportunity. As long as you have these issues in front of the people will respond, the people will show up. As far as the voter turnout is concerned during these primaries and intermediary election processes, generally there are lower turnouts. Most people do only focus on the presidential elections, but in this situation, at the lower end of the ballot, that's where it really happens.
Let me jump in here and throw this out here. We're talking about New York now. We're talking about New York. So let's look at the Democratic primary yesterday. Congressman Engel, 20,000, almost 21,000 votes. Jonathan Lewis, almost 5,000 votes. Joy Briscoe, and I'm rounding off here, 2,000 votes. Derrickson Lawson, about 1,000 votes. That comes to 27,000 votes in the 16th district.
Shameful.
Right? Then you get to the 14th district. You got about 16,000 votes for Ocasio-Cortez, 12,000 for Crowley. You're at 27,000 votes for a congressional primary in the city of New York. What are we talking about?
We're talking about hundreds of thousands of registered voters that did not come out to vote in their districts. These are Congress members that are going to for sure go to Albany because there's very little token Republican opposition. And when they go, they're going to represent over 700,000 people. This is ridiculous. And quite frankly, there's 2 options here. Either change the primary date or really start getting serious with New Yorkers that aren't showing up to vote because there's no reason why they didn't come out.
You get the final last word. We got a few seconds left.
What are you going to do to?
I think guys like us will have to say you have a duty to come out and vote. This idea that you have to say.
He takes the last word.
You got the last word. Go ahead.
It's okay.
You don't think that there's a duty to vote? You don't think
Absolutely there's a duty
So
to
why
vote.
are you staying home?
But
We got hundreds of thousands of people staying home watching TV. Get out.
You literally have to be given a reason to come out to vote.
You told me she did. You told me she gave them a reason. They stayed home. You see, Lee?
You have to give them a reason to come out to vote.
This is why they're coming back.
And then they did, and she gave enough people a reason, more so than Crowley did.
Lee?
It only takes one to win. That's it.
Hey,
Lee got the last word. Lee, thanks much. JC, this is why we bring him here every week. Listen, thank you for joining us. We'll be right back. This ends our political segment. It doesn't end the political discussion. Of course, they'll be back next week bringing you news and more information. We'll be right back right after this.